Let me thank you first of all for the opportunity of this interview. I welcome this very much. And as you're saying, this is a very good event today. And the fight against corruption is something that the European Union is very much supporting in the Kurdistan region of Iraq, but in Iraq, also in federal Iraq, Iraq is the whole country. Why do we do this? Corruption is a phenomenon that is not only active and present in Iraq. It's a phenomenon that is worldwide because it gives possibilities to people to make additional money and to have additional power. But it is the abuse of public finances. It's the abuse of taxpayers' money, and therefore there should be a clear fight against these practices. We think also, and we are convinced about this, that corruption is an obstacle to economic development, particularly to private sector development. We are a very big fan of developing more private sector economy, less state, because that gives a country a real economic backbone, also in times of crisis. So if you have private companies who can operate freely in the framework of the law, obviously, you strengthen the economy and you create jobs, but not jobs by the state, by state authorities, but by private companies. In order to ensure this, the private companies must be sure that if they apply for public contracts, that these contracts are attributed and accorded fairly and according to clear criteria, and not to those who pay the most money in the back. I'm very glad to have heard this message this morning, and Prime Minister Barzani is not alone in this country. Prime Minister al-Sudani is advocating and is working in the same line. And so we have the key representatives wanting to fight corruption. And the report presented today by the Commission of Integrity of Kurdistan is an excellent example that the work done together by all relevant authorities, in this case in the Kurdistan region, can yield results. And that is what the Prime Minister also referred to this morning.
Basi?
Well, first of all, according to this ranking, you can turn it around as you want. You can say Iraq is at the bottom in not fulfilling the rules, or you can say it is on top of the list because it's most corruptive. These are assessments that not me, I have done them. These are assessments done by Transparency International, by the United Nations and others. I think that's important to underline. Yes, there is an agreement by the political leaders of this country to fight corruption, and because they have understood that if Iraq and the Kurdistan region want to have a more stable, a more economic powerful society, it cannot happen with the current level of corruption present. Now, please do not misunderstand me. I do not want to be a teacher who comes here to say, my God, you people, you are so bad and corruption is so prevalent here. Let it be. It's too late or you cannot do anything. It's just the opposite. We are willing to share the experience we have done in the European Union back in fighting corruption. And you heard me also saying this morning that I'm not a dreamer, and I don't think we will, not in Europe, not here, eradicate corruption completely. That's impossible. But that's not the goal. The goal is to limit corruption to the extent possible, and that is what is really wanted also, I'm sure, by the population, by the people, particularly those who want to have an own engagement in economy and not only be public servants. I don't think there is a significant difference, not just the opposite. I know that I know that both work actually very closely together. We have seen this today also, that both commissions of integrity are very much cooperating. There may be little differences here and there when it comes to the drafting of legislation, but they are of minor importance. The big goal and the general objective is met by both in the same way. We believe that that the governments, the two, Kurdistan and the one in Baghdad, should give the leading to it. There should be the political guidance how things have to be done. But you're fully right. It cannot be simply come from top down. There cannot be anyone in Baghdad or in Erbil saying, now we have to fight corruption. You need to convince the society, economy, civil society, educational institutions, universities. You need to convince people of this idea of a mostly corruptive-free economy and state. Otherwise, it will not work. You will have to embrace the people, take them with you, and to convince them. That's the most important thing. People have to understand that if I'm the CEO of a medium-sized company and I apply for a contract to build a bridge somewhere, but I have no chance to get this public contract because others pay money, then this does not only influence me personally, it has an influence of all my employees. It has an influence on their families, on their kids. There's less money available. I can pay less salaries. Yeah? And I may even go away. I may even leave the country or the region where I'm in. So we are not only talking about the simple use of public funds. There's much more behind it. It is the fair treatment of companies, and it is to have a conducive environment for companies, for the economy, to work in a sound financial and economic environment. Time is never over to fight corruption. If these people tell you this, this is a little bit a weak position, I would say, and you have to counteract. By the way, I'm thank you that you as journalists take up the subject. You are a multiplier, you're a facilitator in passing the right messages, I would say. It's never too late to address this issue, but we should not either be in an illusion that this can be changed from Monday to Tuesday. It's a long process. It involves, as you said, the whole society. It involves parliaments, it involves civil society. It is this awareness raising, the consciousness of people that has to grow. Politicians have to be the ones telling people, we want to achieve this goal. Let us do it together. Of course, people have also to take their own responsibility. Yeah? And let me give you an example. We are discussing at the federal level currently the so-called law on information. It means that any person, any citizen can request information from public authorities regarding potential corruption. This is a very good tool, and it also exposes potential corruptive actions and measures to the public. Now, there are obviously also derogations from this. You cannot publish any information about any company, about any person. You have to find a balance between the rights and obligations. But the fact that this is there empowers actually the legislators and also the ones who manage public funds. It is also a threat to those who manage public funds wrongly. So yes, it is a long process and it will take time, yeah. But again, reproaching, accusing is not the way to do it. Convincing is the way to do it, and convincing by arguments and by explaining where the society would go. We are discussing this very directly with members of parliament. Unfortunately, in Kurdistan, we cannot do it currently because there's no parliament. But we are very hopeful that the elections now take place on 20th of October, which will enable us to have again the parliamentary assembly in Kurdistan, which then also can engage on anti-corruption legislation. We do it currently with Baghdad, and I feel a big readiness by members of parliament in working together with us on the subject. But I want to reiterate again, we share our experience we have in the European Union. And I would really like to say, we are not corruptive free, we are not corruption free, but we have a very low limit of corruption because there are corrective measures. Let me give you one example, what we discuss currently with the Council of Representatives. There are amendments to the penal code. Because you can say, for example, okay, Mr. XYZ gave money, bribed somebody and got a public contract. If that is identified, he simply pays the money back. Well, that will not prevent further corruption. He has to be punished by the law, or she, and he must perhaps be excluded from public contracts for a certain period of time. But there must be a threat by the law to those who are corruptive. And at the moment we discuss with the Parliament, with the Council of Representatives, how strong these penal sanctions must be in order to be effective, but also in order to have the effect of deterrence. A clear warning to those who want to be corruptive, to make them know, okay, guy, if you do this and this, you will have this and this sanction confronting. Maybe up to jail, maybe up to prison. Finding the right balance is very, very important, but people must to know this. And that is also what the judges in your country tell us often as an adequate preventive measure. Well, let me say on this, that we have been observing this process for quite some time. And I myself, I'm engaged, and I'm engaging myself with interlocutors, not so much at the state level, but also with religious representatives of religious groups, of civil society, women representatives. But we also look at such a law from the perspective, is Iraq still fulfilling its international obligations? There are 3 or 4 international conventions that Iraq has signed off and has ratified that protect children. Now, it is certainly not up to me to judge what the amendments currently being discussed mean in terms of this compliance. But we are calling upon the members of the Council of Representatives to carefully look at that element. Again, I repeat, I'm not here to dictate or to interfere into internal matters. It's a reproach that I feel these days. It's a call that Iraq, that wants to go to a more international system, to more openness with the international community. My call is that these questions are looked at by the legislators in detail and carefully, and then the discussion should go on. Well, I'm a little bit hesitant to judge at this moment about an amending law that is in debate by the Parliament. There is one draft, yes, but I would really say let's now, the parliamentarians, engage in their own debate. And then we see where this debate leads to. My clear feeling, particularly after yesterday, when the session was then not anymore prolonged, my clear feeling and impression is that the debate is ongoing. It's not over yet. And we should give the members of Parliament time, all of them, women and men, to carefully assess this question and to carefully discuss in a very cool and not emotional manner. I have an understanding of where this idea is coming from, but again, it should be a democratic process, and in your Council of Representatives, with a very broad exchange in a democratic way. That is what I would ask for. And again, I call upon everybody not to see this as an interference in internal matters. We were very glad last week to have a visit by His Excellency, the National Security Advisor, Mr. Al-Araji, in Brussels. And we had discussions on this with our top political level. He is saying the current development on drugs for him is representing Daesh 2.0. I think that tells you everything. Iraq is currently, what I hear and what I see, under kind of a flooding by drugs, and it impacts particularly on young people. And young people who have no perspective, young people living perhaps not only in cities, but young people living in the rural area, also who have no idea what actually these drugs are. They are offered them, and they take them the first time in an innocent manner. Again, similarly to anti-corruption, we are ready to share our experience with drugs. And my God, we have a lot of experience in this, and various strategies how to do and what to do against it. What I appreciate currently is that the state, also here in Kurdistan, that the state is looking at a two-line track on this. First of all, to punish very strictly those who are trafficking drugs, those who make money with drugs, those who abuse of this, because it is illegal and it is a crime. That's the first thing, and that's, for example, for all law enforcement agencies to do, and I know that the state is very much behind this. The other line, the other track, is to make people aware, and I come back to the young people of your country. They have to be informed what the drugs are, what they cause, what the long-term negative impact is. And we have, for example, currently in our planning a financial support program for primary schools all over in Iraq, which we will finance by 20 million euros. Deals with curricula, it deals with teaching of teachers, and I'm insisting myself that we now also include a kind, as a line going through all the program, the necessity to address drugs in primary schools. I think that is the right place to start with education on what drugs actually cause. And this program also includes a discussion not only in the classroom, but also with parents' representatives, with the parents themselves, discussions between teachers and parents, the school and parents, in order to make also the parents aware of what's happening. Well, we have supported these elections since more than a year, together with the United Nations. And let me say also, together with the 27 member states, 15 of which have embassies and representations in the country. For us, this is the expression of democracy. It is giving the chance to the citizens to express their political will. You know, these elections have been and were overdue, and I'm very glad to see that they are now happening. And then we hope for a fair electoral campaign, and then we're looking forward to the results with a lot of excitement.